This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome back to the Fan Reporter Show, made by fans, for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and sitting right across from me is my boy Andrew's going to give us this week's topics.
Recap the draft.
Okay, thanks, Ollie. So, as you heard the man put it ever so bluntly, there was a draft. There was a little event that happened this past week.
Specific NBA draft, not like a military draft.
Well, technically, there was a couple of drafts this past weekend.
Just want to clarify, it was not a military draft.
We may be having one of those.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes, there was an NBA draft this past week, Thursday to be exact. This past Thursday. It was a 2019 NBA draft, and our Detroit Pistons were picking 15th. So I'm sure most of you who listen to the show already knew. So I'm giving you absolutely useless and unneeded, probably unwanted information before I get into the actual meat of what we're talking about here.
Well, before we get into the actual draft night itself, we did have a little pre-draft trade that influenced our picks. Which was the Pistons trade away John Lure.
Would you really say it influenced our picks? Because I still feel like we went the same route that we would have either way.
We still got an extra pick.
This is true. Which turned into like 4 extra picks, then went back to 2 extra picks.
But we used that leverage in the 4 draft picks to still get an extra pick in this draft, even though we traded back from the 30.
Right.
But anyway, traded John Lure for Tony Snell.
That was such a confusing time. It was just a whirlwind. If you weren't paying close attention, you were lost.
With the whole trade thing because they didn't show who's actually picking. It was
well, that's actually a league rule because
I know
that's the thing every year. I mean, if you go back and look at like last year's draft, for instance, the Hawks still technically took Luka Doncic.
No, I know. I'm very
and the
aware.
Mavs still technically took.
It's just this year there was.
Trade
felt like there were so many more trades than usual, and everything just got
I was actually thinking the opposite.
Really?
Yeah. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings to watch the draft with Alex.
Okay.
We watched pretty much until after the Pistons pick, and then we went back to his house and kind of caught the rest of the draft from there. But after the first 5 or so picks, where the trades were announced before the draft, which we already knew about because the Pelicans were obviously shopping that pick. The Hawks were looking to move. I believe it was the Suns that were looking to move also. After that, there was no moves. Nobody made a trade after that until you got into the mid-teens or late teens. And I was going, man, it's been a pretty boring cookie-cutter draft. It's been very vanilla.
Yeah, the top 10, the Hawks trade up to 4. The Timberwolves
right.
up to 6.
It was those picks that were traded, but those were trades that happened before the draft even started.
Not the Hawks.
Yes, no. 4 and 6 were those trades were announced before the draft even started. I remember walking in, going, "All right, so the Pelicans traded their 4th spot, and then I believe it was the Suns traded their 6th spot." I remember walking into the place knowing those picks were already traded. It was draft day trades, but they were made before the draft even started. So we knew that those were going to happen already. Yeah. They weren't surprise picks they were surprise trades as they were happening. But I just remember outside of those trades that happened before the draft that it felt like it was pretty cookie cutter that nobody was moving up, nobody was moving down, which considering the quality of the draft, that didn't surprise me all that much because even the teams that wanted to trade back, which would be a good reason to in this draft, they weren't getting fair market value for those slots up higher in the mid-teens because it really wasn't worth it to go from 20 to 15 or 20 to 14 in a draft like this. It really didn't make any kind of a difference at what kind of quality you were getting, especially when the guys that were being looked at in those spots, the Bol Bols and the Nasir Littles, ended up dropping way past that, which I was shocked about Nasir Little.
Yeah.
Bol Bol, it didn't really surprise me all that much, but Nasir Little was the big surprise to me. So when you had the value of a Nasir Little going later on in the draft, it really didn't make sense for a lot of those teams to move up anyways.
Yeah.
So, but it is very difficult to follow along with the way that the NBA does their draft day trades. I think it has to do with the trade isn't technically final; it's just a proposed trade.
Yeah, exactly.
The league year isn't technically started yet. Blah blah blah. I don't like how they do it. It's stupid. I think there was one certain situation that caused the rule to happen, and I wish they would just say, screw this. And
like the players are walking around like the wrong team's hats.
I know. It didn't make sense. I hated it. It's too confusing. Like, they're getting a hat for a team.
NFL's lead
Right. They're getting a hat for a team that isn't even their team, and how does it feel to get taken by the Hawks? Well, I didn't get taken by the Hawks. I got taken by so-and-so. Like, it bothered me. I know this is a league rule. I know this is how they do it. It's convoluted and confusing, and it makes you go. It makes you have to add pieces to a conversation that are unnecessary because you already know this information, and it like makes that guy's hat less valuable to him.
Yeah,
because it's not even the team that's taking him. Like, why would he want us? Why would the guy who got taken by the T-Wolves at 6? I don't even remember who it was. Want a hat from the Suns? Not playing for the Suns at least in his first 4 or 5 years, most likely. It may not ever. So what that hat is meaningless to him, and you may as well throw it out because it's worthless to him. It has no value at that point, other than, oh, hey, this is the team that was in the slot originally of when I got drafted.
Yeah,
I don't like the way that they do it because of that. It's convoluted, confusing, and it takes away the value of that draft pick in terms of sentimental value, I guess. Does that make sense? I know that's kind of like a stupid talking point, but
I feel what you're saying because like you want to like have a picture of like you with your team,
right? Like there's something like if I were a draft pick and I were taken by say I was drafted number 12 overall and the Pistons traded up to get me. Being a lifelong Pistons fan, do you know how special that damn hat would be to me?
Yeah.
That my childhood team traded up to get me at number 12. But no, I'm in a freaking Minnesota Timberwolves hat. And geez, man, I don't want this. This is garbage.
I'd wear the hat backwards on stage.
Well, speaking of which, I saw the funniest tweet the other day. Someone said something about, I don't know, but praising God, or someone said something about like praising God for the pick, and then a Timberwolves fan tweeted out just an absolute blatant, "There is no God, God doesn't exist," and someone responded, "I can understand why you as a Timberwolves fan would have a lack of belief in a higher power." I was like, oh my God. I found it absolutely hilarious. And, beliefs are beliefs. I understand that. But the comeback was just awesome. I mean, the comeback alone had like 14,000 likes on it. So he obviously caught a lot of people's, attention. But,
So we had the trade John Lure for Tony Snell in the 30th overall pick in the draft.
So you were essentially trading $11 million in expiring money for a $12 million contract. I believe it's like 11.5 this year and 12.5 next year on his player option. For a guy who started 220 games in his career, plays excellent defense, and is like a career 42% three-point shooter. I mean, that's those. What else could you want?
Someone you could use at a position in need.
If he stays healthy, because he didn't for a lot of last year. But it's exactly the type of player that the Pistons needed when going into this offseason. Much needed length, much needed defense on the wing, much needed shooting on the wing. I mean, in my opinion, that's a home run. And a lot of the detractors were, why couldn't we just hold on to the expiring deal and use the money in next offseason? That's a fine way to look at it, and I can understand that argument. But I would understand that argument if we were a team like the Chicago Bulls or the LA Lakers or
the Brooklyn Nets,
the New York Knicks, the Miami Heat, the Dallas Mavericks, a destination city. Who's the last big free agent the Pistons have signed in an offseason?
Josh Smith.
Exactly. You're joking, but it's true.
No, I know it's true.
That is the last big player free agent the Pistons have signed, and that was honestly probably their plan B because the guy they wanted ended up signing elsewhere. I don't remember who it was. I saw it the other day. Iguodala. That's right. So, and how many years ago was that? 8?
Something like that. Free
agents don't come to the Detroit Pistons. I'm sorry. And you can get mad at me for saying that, but the proof's in the pudding, my man. Free agents don't come here. It doesn't matter what our free agent or our salary cap situation is. Free agents don't want to come here. So with that being said, if we have a way to bring talent in other than free agency, because we're not going to get the pick of what we want in free agency unless we vastly overpay for it, go for it. We have other options. That's how we need to bring in talent in this city. Draft and trades. Because salary cap space is, in all honesty, useless when it comes to free agency for the Pistons.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to get the guy we want.
We end up overpaying for a medium-level guy.
Exactly. So I'd far rather grab a guy like a Tony Snell, who probably wouldn't come here in the first place in the offseason, or if he would, we overpaid for him. I'd rather get him at what his market value is now, maybe a little bit overpaid. That's okay, though, because other teams are willing to pay him that, obviously. And not have to worry about fighting for a guy and settling for a plan B or C in the offseason next year.
And you get a first-round pick as a kicker.
And he got a first-round pick for it. I mean, it was number 30 overall, but that's okay.
It's a glorified second-rounder.
It's technically a first. But I thought Ed Stefanski understood their cap situation, understood understood that this market is not a free agent draw, so to speak, because we don't win. We're not winning right now. We're not a place that people want to come play. We're probably on nobody's top of the list outside of maybe like a Draymond Green who grew up here. So he understood the situation we're in and was proactive about it. The way I can describe this trade was proactive, not reactive. And I loved it. And it was one of the few times in recent memory I can look at not just the Pistons, but a local Detroit sports team and say they made a proactive proactive move with their player personnel.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. I loved it.
So good start to the draft. And then we get to draft night, 15th overall. We take Sekou Doumbouya, who was never supposed to be there in the first place. We evaluated 7 guys on our draft.
He was a guy that was kind of fluctuating around a little bit, but he never really dropped beyond the early teens.
Yeah.
From most mock drafts, I did see him outside it a couple of times, but for the most part, he was in between like that 8 to 14 spot primarily.
The lowest I remember seeing was 11.
I saw him as far back as 17 once when they kind of flip-flop him and Rui Hachimura.
I remember my first mock draft that I looked at for this draft season, which was like 3 months ago now. That it was the first mock draft. He was the first player I ever saw mocked to the Pistons, and he just kept rising, and then he went up.
He was one of he's one of those very athletic foreign-born wing players with a lot of length. Those are the. Everybody's trying to find the next Giannis Antetokounmpo or Pascal Siakam.
But I would not compare this guy to Giannis.
He's Pascal Siakam, no question. But everybody's trying to find that guy.
But I find it funny that we evaluated 7 players on this show a couple weeks ago, and
he wasn't one of them because we didn't think we didn't think he was on their radar. 2, we didn't think he was going to be there.
Yeah.
And so when a guy like that falls to you, I honestly don't even think Ed Stefanski sitting in their war room thought that he was going to fall to them. He even said we didn't expect him to be there.
I don't think he thought twice. He didn't even work out for him or anything.
No.
And I don't think he thought twice pulling the trigger on this one.
But, those are the type of guys that can fall because they're such unknowns. They're so raw. He's the youngest guy in the draft. There's a lot of things that can cause a guy like that to fall. A few teams trade up, make the pick that they wanted, maybe make a reach for it. And then a guy like that is the one who falls, and you're the beneficiary of that. Yeah.
So, to give you a little breakdown to Sekou Doumbouya, he is 6'9", 230 with a 7-foot wingspan.
7'2" wingspan.
7'2" wingspan.
I believe it was 7'2" because he's got an 8'9" standing reach.
There you go. He's very when you watch the game film of him, the first thing that strikes you is
athleticism.
How physically gifted he is, but how very, very, very raw he is. For me, it was controlling the ball. He was very loose. He would do like a spin move, and the ball would come out here, and they come out and grab it again. What I try to do when I do a spin move in the driveway.
He definitely needs to work on ball control and ability to facilitate for himself as well as his teammates.
Yeah.
And he does need to work on being able to space the floor on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Can he shoot the ball? Yes. Is he consistent at shooting the ball? No.
Yeah.
He does need to work on that, and he needs to work on being willing to pull the trigger from outside as well.
Yeah. And
because he's definitely got an ability to shoot from outside, he just needs to be willing to do it.
And from a combination of reports and some footage that was released from his workouts, he shot better than expected from 3 in his workouts.
And that's what I was saying, is he has the ability to do it. They just he just needs to understand that, hey, you do have the green light to shoot the ball.
Yeah. And I do, and I did remember reading a report on draft day that that the Heat he blew the Heat away with his workout, and that he was actually in play if Kobe for the Heat at 7. Basically, if Kobe White wasn't there, that'd probably be the pick then at that point. But and I know at one workout he hit, I think it was 17 threes in a row or something like that. But
which anybody can hit wide open threes. Andre Drummond hits wide open threes. Okay, and how many did he make last year?
They're open floor threes. I'm not trying to say he's the best.
It's kind of like the argument of, man, did you see, nobody could back down a chair like Darko Milicic. All right,
I'm just trying to give the reason why.
No, I know.
One of the reasons why people were blown away in his workout, but
he does have a good shooting stroke. It looks fluid. It's he looks comfortable when he releases the ball. It's very smooth.
Yeah.
It's a good looking shot.
Exactly.
And he is a guy who is very raw on the offensive side with his game. He does need to get more consistent with it. But
another big thing with him in general is consistency, especially on the defensive end too. Is
even though he is a very gifted defender. He
needs to bring it more.
And when you when you have the length and athleticism that he possesses, because one of the biggest talking points about this guy is athleticism. Yeah. He's a very, very athletic wing type player with a ton of length. He's got honestly one of the most prototypical bodies that you can imagine for modern day NBA basketball. And mix that with the athleticism that he possesses, he's ideal.
Yeah.
Especially with him being as young as he is, he's very much ideal, albeit very raw on both ends of the floor. And with that body type and the athleticism that he possesses, he's a very capable and willing and shows it at times, flashes of being an excellent defender. And there's a good reason he draws the comparisons to a Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
And it's because of the ability to play. At the very least, you know that you're going to be getting a very solid defender if he allows his basketball IQ to develop further.
Yeah, exactly. And this is not a guy that's going to play. I mean, he might get some minutes right away, but he's not going to contribute.
I really don't think, and especially on the offensive end of the floor, I really don't see him being a big contributor for at least a couple of years. I know the hot take on Twitter. I can see him being deployed
for defensive purposes. But that's about it.
I know the hot take on Twitter right now is, looking at his workouts, he's going to be able to help us on the offensive end of the floor and defensive end of the floor a lot sooner than you think, even as early as this season. I 100% disagree with that.
I would love it if he is.
He's 18 years old.
You only started playing basketball, 6 years ago?
6 years ago. He's 18 years old, coming from overseas where he really didn't get that much playing time in the pro leagues over in France. I know he played some international ball as well, but he only played 3 games, if I recall. He's too raw. That's not a guy. I mean, look at Giannis in his first couple of seasons. He wasn't really playing all that much or contributing that much.
Yeah.
This guy's not even Giannis. He's not. I mean, look at Pascal Siakam last year. You hardly knew the name. This year, different story. He developed over the offseason. You can give a lot of credit to Dwayne Casey as well as Nick Nurse. They developed his game and made him the player that he is now. Same's going to be kind of the situation with Sekou Doumbouya. He's going to need time to develop. I don't think this is a 1-year turnaround. I don't think this is maybe. I mean, you can start to make the argument of he'll be a contributor in year 3.
Yeah,
I would say is the year I look for because give him time to turn 20 for God's sakes. I don't have expectations for him for at least 2 seasons. My expectations begin year 3, and that'll really tell me how good this Pistons team is at developing talent. And with a guy like Dwayne Casey,
that's the scary part.
That's the scary part is the Pistons have not been known to develop talent ever.
Dwayne Casey is known at
Dwayne Casey is known for that because he helped develop Kyle Lowry. He helped develop DeMar DeRozan.
And Pascal
he helped develop Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of positives to look at there in his talent development. But the Pistons organization as a whole is not well known for that.
That's what's scary.
So it's whether or not they're going to be able to develop him because, again, the sky truly is the limit with him because you may get the next Pascal Siakam. You may have found your next Giannis Antetokounmpo in a Pascal Siakam player type. You may have found the next big unknown star at 15 in this draft, which I know they love to throw the comparisons out of Giannis was taken at 15, Kawhi was taken at 15, blah, 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 blah. Don't compare him to those guys. This is he's his own player. Let him develop. The kid's 18, man. Yeah. He's the youngest player in the draft. We have to kind of slow our roll here and understand that this is going to take a couple of years before we ever see any kind of contribution or any kind of fruit of the labors put in from this guy.
Yeah, but don't get it mistaken. This is a swing for the fences pick, right?
It is. It's a boomer bust. Yeah. It is a boomer bust. And in all honesty, with the Pistons being in the situation they are, with the fact that they don't bring in the prize free agent, the fact that we don't have a lot of flexibility in our cap space at the moment, we will next offseason. I love the pick because that's where you find the stars. That's where you find the Giannis's and the Siakams. Is you swing for the fences in the drafts. It's not like neither of those guys weren't risks when they took them. I mean, Siakam at 27, not as big of a risk.
You had the perceived safer pick available at Nickeil Alexander-Walker. But
there was a ton of safe picks there. Nasir Little, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. There was a ton of guys that you could argue as safer pick, far safer than Sekou Doumbouya.
Yeah.
But they chose to swing for the fences, and I love that because the ceiling is far higher, and to find that star that can lead this team in the future, that's how you got to get them. You got to swing for the fences when it comes to the draft if you're this team, and that's something that this organization has really just not done in years past. Luke Kennard was not a swing for the fences pick. Henry Ellenson was not a swing for the fences pick. When was the last swing for the fences pick for the Pistons? Darko? Austin Day, maybe?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you, to be honest.
It's been a while. So this pick is, I'm feeling a change of culture in the front office and decision making of this organization, and I love it.
Yep, hoping.
But this pick does not come without question marks, at least on my end, of what is the actual direction of this team now? Where are we going here? You know, I understand. You know, the mindset that's been fed to this fan base is we're in a go for it now mode. We're going to utilize the window. We're going to utilize Blake Griffin's window, which is now, and is not going to open up any further the older he gets. It's only going to close and close more as he gets older, because then you worry about the injuries coming in even more so. The window for the Pistons is right now in their eyes, and that's what they've been telling us. So why did we end up drafting a project that's going to take a couple of years before we even see anything? It makes me question the direction of what is really happening with this organization, on whether or not, are we in win now mode, or are we in we're going to continue to compete with the roster we have and fill holes with mid-level exception players and biannual exception players, and continue to fight for the 6, 7, 8 seeds because the East is wide open right now, with other teams losing so much talent and a lot of it potentially going out west.
Yep.
We're going to continue to compete for that 6, 7, 8 seed, build our roster through the draft, and rebuild when the contracts just come off the books, which is next year and the year after. That's when Reggie's contract's gone. That's when Langston's contract's gone, which I actually think he gets traded this offseason. That's when Tony Snell's contract's gone. That's when Drummond's contract's gone. That's when we start seeing, and that's when but they're kind of like ready baking a rebuild into this, along with still standing pat and competing for a back end playoff spot. It's them rebuilding without tanking.
Yeah.
Is their mindset behind this. And I don't know if it's the front office trying to pull a fast one on Tom Gores by saying, look, we're competing. We're fighting for the playoffs. But in reality, we're also rebuilding and going swinging for the fences on guys like Sekou Doumbouya. And next season or next offseason, when they swing for the fences again, or build or draft a complementary piece to Doumbouya. Because the Doumbouya pick does not really tell you that they're trying to win now. Yeah. That's a rebuild pick, if I've ever seen
it's
one.
It's 100% a rebuild pick. And it's it is contradictory to the roster we have, but even though Stefanski says they're in win now mode, and
The pick doesn't tell me that. That's what I'm confused about this mindset
here. The roster itself, if it's in win now mode, it's sad.
It's not very good.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that it's not very good, and that's why I feel like they're just selling Tom Gores a bag of goods.
I would rather them not be in win now mode.
Because let's be honest here, what is the one thing stopping this team from a full blown rebuild? Tom Gores. They had trades for Andre Drummond the past 2 seasons. He said no. Tom vetoed it. Gores vetoed it. He's the guy stopping this organization from rebuilding. So maybe the front office is saying, fine, we'll do it our way. You'll get what you want, which is a team competing for a playoff spot in limbo, and we'll build a team for the future our way. By drafting guys, drafting risky guys like Doumbouya, and continuing to build that way. Bringing in guys on shorter-term contracts like a Tony Snell. They very easily could have gone and got a guy that's under contract for 4 or 5 years for John Lure's deal.
Yeah.
They chose to get a guy who's out on 1-1. Still falls in line with all the money coming off the books within this year, next offseason, and the offseason after.
Moving on to the 30th pick.
That we didn't take.
Yep. We
traded.
We drafted Kevin Porter Jr. on behalf of the Cleveland Cavaliers, traded away for 4 second-round picks.
What was it? 2 this year, 1 this year?
No, nothing this year. None of them were this year.
Oh, it was
They were
nothing.
all future second-round
That's right.
picks.
It was all future
because we only had
picks.
one
That's
second
right.
round
Yes.
in the next 5 years. So
Yeah.
kind of restocked the second-round picks.
Which still falls in line with rebuild.
Let the Cavs take Kevin Porter Jr. So I want to know your opinion here. Did you like this trade, or would you rather them grab Kevin Porter Jr. there at 30?
Depends on the mindset you're working with. If you're working with a mindset of, hey, we're building a team for the future, or, hey, we want to win now. I mean, I personally want this team to rebuild a little bit and kind of retool. I'm not saying tank, even though I've said that in the past. I'm not saying that now. But I do want this team to retool a little bit, and adding draft capital is a really good way to do that. At 30, I have really soured on Kevin Porter Jr. as the more has come out about him with his off the court antics and his lack of focus on the court. He would have been a guy that if they would have taken at 30, if they would have just kept the pick and taken him at 30, it would have been telling you that, hey, we're trying to win now. That's a guy that that's
I will say I like the
piece.
Kevin Porter Jr. pick a lot more at 30 than I do at 15.
Oh, heck yeah. It's way less of a, especially when you've already added a Sekou Doumbouya to your draft stock here. That's a way less risky of a pick.
Yeah, but 4 second rounders, it's like, on one hand, it's quite a haul, and on the other hand, it reminds you of like those fantasy football trades. Like, I'll give you these 4 guys with my bench for your like
right. But again, if the mindset is, hey, we're building for the future, that's how you. I mean, if you don't, you need draft capital to do that. And so they said, all right, we're building for the future instead of trying to build for right now.
Yeah.
Let's stock up as much draft capital as we can. Maybe we can leverage some of those to get into the second again in this one, which I believe they technically ended up doing.
They did. 2 of them, to be exact.
Yes. So, hey, I mean, I liked it for that reason because I'm in the belief that this team is trying to build a little bit for the future, and that's the route that I would have gone.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
So they used 2 of those picks to move up to 37 to draft Davidas Servidis. He's a Lithuanian forward.
What a name.
I know, it's a great name, Davidas Servidis.
Davidas Servidis. Could you imagine Mason?
I love saying his name.
Can you imagine Mason announcing his name? How would Mason announce his name?
It'd be the same inflection on both names. It'd be like
Davidas
Servidis.
You know, you're probably right.
Anyway, so this guy's a really smooth shooter. He only took 41 threes in Lithuania, but he shot 46% from threes. He's got a really nice stroke.
Oh, it's a beautiful shot.
He's a solid defender, pretty good passer.
Did he play against the Ball Boys over there?
I
Just out of curiosity.
I couldn't tell you, to be honest with you.
Because I know they played in Lithuania.
Yeah, but he's a pretty good passer, pretty good defender, really nice shooter. But that's really about all he does.
Yeah, is pass and shoot the ball, which shooters are good to have. I mean, you can never have too many shooters.
I'd compare him to a Kevin Huerter type.
Yeah.
A Ronnie Hood type.
Absolutely. And look at what Kevin Huerter's going to be for that team this year. You want to talk about a team that's done things the right way and looks mighty fine years moving forward? The Atlanta Hawks are looking real nice.
Yep.
Real nice. You mean to tell me you got Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish, John Collins, who, in my opinion, was the steal of that draft. And then you added that kid from Texas, Jackson Hayes.
Yeah.
Was that his name, Jackson Hayes?
That's Pelicans.
Oh, the Pelicans added him. Who did the Hawks add there
Hawks
at the
Cam
5?
Reddish. They added,
Cam Reddish and...
what do you mean at the 5? They trade so...
John Collins is going to play the 5. That's right. They went with DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, the Hawks moved
They got
off to
DeAndre Hunter, so John Collins is going to move to the 5. So you're looking at...
Well, Jackson Hayes will play the 5. Oh, sorry, wow.
Jackson Hayes with the Pelicans.
Now I get
That's another team looking pretty nice, too. But you're looking at Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, and John Collins moving forward. That's quite nice. I mean, that's nice enviable right there.
It's a nice haul.
Heck yeah, it is.
But, so... The other thing with Davidas Servidis, he is 6'8". He's only 190 pounds, though.
He is small.
So he was able to keep up in Lithuania as far as just the strength aspect is concerned, but
they're not as big there as they are here.
He's going to need to put on more weight.
Needs to bulk up.
He's apparently really slow defending laterally. And
God, what's up with people being slow, turning going sideways? DK Metcalf couldn't move sideways if he tried. Yeah. And now we've got all these guys. I mean, we talked about a lot of prospects that can't move sideways in the draft.
So, yeah.
Do people not do their little shuffle drills?
So
I mean, come on.
That's what I'm saying. We need to get pure shuffle drills for 5 hours straight.
Yes.
All right. So Davidas Servidis, he wants to come over and play right away. I don't know if that's going to happen. He might be a draft and stash type guy.
He is a draft and stash. He is not coming over. From what I've heard, I believe he's staying overseas.
I know he wants to. He's come on and said he wants
right,
to.
But he is on the Summer League roster, so there is that. The Summer League roster looks really fun. Yeah, I love it.
You should watch Summer League finally this year.
I mean, no. I think Summer League is a waste of time. I mean, it's nice to develop the young guys, but if you actually put any stock in the Summer League, I think you're a schmuck.
Yeah.
But it is entertaining and nice to see some of the younger guys. But again, Stanley Johnson put up like 100 points in a Summer League game. What did he turn out to be offensively? So anybody who actually puts any kind of stock in Summer League performances, I think you're a schmuck.
But yeah, it's another foreign player, foreign on the radar player that could be a high upside pick.
Oh, absolutely. It's another. It's not as much of a swing for the fences pick, but it's an unknown guy that doesn't have a lot of experience that we're going to look at and say, hey, if we hit, awesome. If we don't, okay, we spent a second round pick on him. Yeah. Not a big deal.
And then we traded another second round pick plus the cash considerations that we got from the Cavs trade. Also, I'm assuming the same cash. I don't know.
You grab Jordan Bone.
Jordan Bone, the point guard of Tennessee. Now, this is one of the most athletic guys in this draft. He's a super athletic point guard. You want to see his shot get a little more consistent. And he was also like really late bloomer in college. He didn't really play he didn't really jump onto the radar until his final season. But
this is another guy that a lot of teams really wanted too. Though, but this is a guy that a lot of teams were saying, "Wish we could have grabbed him." I wish a lot of fan bases. I saw on Twitter people saying the Jordan Bone grab is a very nice steal by the Pistons. That's going to be a guy that they're going to like to have. I wish my team would have done the same thing. He
had the best no-step vertical leap in the combine at 36 inches. The best second lane agility time at 9.97. He had 2.78 shuttle run, also best in the combine, and
athleticism is the name of the game.
3.03 three-quarter court sprint, also best in the combine.
Athleticism is the name of the game with this kid, and for good reason here. And I can understand the idea of what the Pistons are trying to do with this draft. There was a very clear mindset in what the Pistons were doing here. It's raw, athletic talent. And that's what they went after. That's what they got. I mean, Sekou Doumbouya is very athletic and very lengthy. They drafted a lot of length too. Servidis has got a good shot, not as much athleticism, but and then Jordan Bone is a ton of athleticism. Yeah. So this Pistons team is obviously trying very hard and putting a lot of emphasis on becoming lengthier and more athletic. And I think they succeeded by doing what they've done in this draft.
So he could end up. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be in his rookie year, but he could end up being a really nice backup point guard, a
right.
nice spark plug off the bench
right.
for this team. I still expect them to go out and sign a backup point guard.
I think if they don't, they're making a big mistake.
I don't think they're going to put that role on
Jordan Bone. He's too raw, has too much left to develop in his game to be leaned upon as a backup point guard. I mean, I look at this guy as like to play the role of like what Ray McCallum kind of played, more of a two-way player. Probably he'll see some time in the G League, then come back up when we're ready, or if there's an injury, and let him develop. I honestly want this guy to go to the G League so he can develop his talent, his game a little more. I just hope that we're able to develop that game, because he's not going to get any playing time up here right away. Because there's no way they don't sign a backup point guard. They have to.
Yeah.
But again, I like the move. I thought it was a very, very future-oriented move. It was something that we can look at and say, hey, this guy could be a contributor in years, in the near future for us. Give it a couple of years, let him develop. Again, another pick that is going to be a pick that you won't see the fruits for a couple of years. And honestly, I think a couple of years from now, you're going to look at this draft, and that'll determine whether or not Ed Stefanski still has a job with this organization.
Yeah.
He is hinging, and he is throwing his chips all on the table with this draft and saying, look, we're not able to grab a pick up at the top of the draft to grab one of those types of guys. That's okay. I can do this way too. And that's what Ed Stefanski is hinging himself on here is he's putting his chips on the table by grabbing guys like this to build for the future, to try to build a team that's going to win in a couple of years or a few years because of the young talent that he's grabbing, the raw talent that he's grabbing. All of these draft picks were taken with the emphasis on building for the future, not right now. And I feel like that just kind of leads me to believe that the only reason we haven't been rebuilding in years past is because of what Tom Gores has locked us into. Because Tom Gores wanted Stan Van Gundy to make the Blake Griffin trade. Because Tom Gores didn't want us to trade Andre Drummond or Reggie Jackson. He wanted to keep those guys. He's locked us into the situation we're at. Now Reggie Jackson's contract is expiring. John Lure's contract is expiring. Blake Griffin's going to continue to be what he is and be a mentor for these young guys. Andre Drummond's contract's got a couple of years left. We'll figure out what place he has on the future of this team. And then we build from the draft and build with guys that we've got going forward. And I have a strong belief that your future drafts, next year, future free agent signings, trades are going to be looked at as building around Sekou Doumbouya and the talent that we get from there on out. Is Andre Drummond going to be a part of that? I actually think he will be, honestly. I really do. And that's okay. Honestly, I'm okay with that. As long as we're not paying him, $35 million or $30 million, I'm okay with that. But this draft tells me that this team is looking to build for the future, not right now.
Yeah.
And that's what I've wanted.
I want to go back real quick to that Cavs trade at the 30th spot.
Okay.
So knowing what we know after the trade was completed, we traded 2 of those picks plus our number 45 picks, so 3 second-round picks total to move up 8 spots to grab Davidas or Vitas. And then trading another one of those picks plus cash to grab Jordan Bone, leaving us with 1 second-round pick from that trade. So knowing what you know, how we use those second-rounders... How we use the second rounders. Do you still like that trade?
At 30? Yes. It's not like we took guys that are going to contribute right now. There's still guys that are draft stock for the future. So I was okay with the way that we spent the capital. You can argue that we should have taken someone at 30. That's fine.
You could argue we overpaid to move up 8 spots.
That's where I say I do think we overpaid to move up 8 spots in the second round. But sometimes
Vitas must have been very sought after.
He may have been, and honestly, I have heard that he was a guy that was looked at by a few other teams as well. So it may have been the situation there, and that's okay. I mean, again. Second round picks are a crapshoot to begin with. Yeah. I mean, you only get the Draymond Greens every so often. You don't find that very often.
Yeah.
So you find the Bruce Browns, every now and then, which is fine. The guys that you can play in your rotation, play some solid minutes, but aren't ever going to be massive players in your organization. But I mean, this is the Pistons just trying to build something here, and I'm okay with the moves. I trust in Ed.
Yep.
I'm saying it now. I trust in Ed. I like the moves that he's making with the roster and with the organization that he's doing right now. He's doing things with the future in mind, and that's the first time I can honestly say that the Pistons are doing that in years. These are future-oriented moves, and I love it. I trust the net. I think they're doing this the right way. They're building this the right way, and taking paying homage to the great Larry Brown. They're going to learn to play the right way.
Yeah,
and we need that. We really do. We need that young, athletic length to become the forefront of this team, become the forefront of this organization, and give these fans something to cheer for, and put some asses in those seats.
Yeah.
And if Sekou Doumbouya turns out to be Pascal Siakam, that's going to do it. And that's going to make this team a winning team.
Yeah. And then real quick before we close this out, we did take 2 guys, signed 2 undrafted free agents.
I thought we signed now 3.
I only know of Louis King and Benny Boatwright. Did we sign someone else?
Thought we signed one other one. I could be wrong. You go ahead and start with those 2. I think that's who it was.
Obviously, both these guys have major flaws, or else would have been drafted. But
obviously,
Benny Boatwright is
I've never heard of him. I'll be honest with you. Never heard of the guy.
I'll be honest, same here. But he is a 6'10" forward out of USC, 6'10", 220. The key word with him is versatility and scoring. He is a versatile forward. He can play anywhere from the 3 to the 5, and he can score from anywhere on the court. He's also a decent playmaker and a pretty good athlete as well. However, his defense is lacking. His consistency is lacking. His rebounding is lacking. His passing is lacking.
Yes.
He's more of a scoring forward. And then with Louis King is actually a guy that was on many big boards and mocked in the middle of the second round in many drafts. He is the forward out of Oregon, 6'8", 195. It's a little bit of a thinner frame, but he is that modern style wing that a lot of teams are looking for, and he's a decently good shooter. He shot 38.6% from 3, taking 153s last season with Oregon, as well as a 52.2% field goal percentage. But the issue with him, for one, he did tear his meniscus his senior year of high school, as well as he's just in general throughout his past been nagged by a variety of knee injuries or leg injuries in general. But he stayed pretty healthy in college, so that's the good part. But similar to Sekou Doumbouya, the guy somehow just fumbles the ball a lot. Like he fumbles the ball just dribbling straight, let alone try to cross over.
It's like back in what was it, NBA 2K15 trying to cross over with the big, or NBA Live 2013 or something trying to cross over with the big man, and the ball just like disappears out of their hands.
So he also uses his strength to be an effective rebounder as well as to defend multiple positions. So another versatile player that was taken.
The Louis King one though is
that's what we're talking about. Louis King.
Oh yeah. He's one that entices me.
Yeah, I like him more than the Benny Boatwright pick.
Right.
The risk is those the knee injury history, but I do like him more because he does have defensive versatility. He's a good rebounder, a really good shooter, just not much of a playmaker.
No.
So you can use him as an offensive mismatch, a spot up shooter. But yeah,
these guys got to develop their talent. Louis King was a guy that was sought after by quite a few teams, so I do know that.
I was surprised he wasn't drafted.
Right, so was I. Yeah. He was definitely supposed to be drafted. But so Andrew, before we end this, I do want to go through 2 things.
I was going to ask, the draft lady, because I was going to ask you one more draft question.
Go ahead.
Overall, like the draft, didn't like the draft?
Okay, save that question.
Oh, okay.
Save that question. Before we answer that, now, post-draft, with what we have, with still needing probably another backup wing, maybe. I'd say we need a backup wing because Sekou Doumbouya is not going to contribute right away. Need a backup guard, a backup point guard specifically, and a backup center. And they may honestly just forego that and play small ball as and just go with a 1 center rotation because Thon Maker's probably going to play more of the backup 4 type.
Yeah.
With that being said, the Pistons now are $7 million under the tax line. They have a $9.5 million MLE, the mid-level exception, and a $3.2 million biannual exception. What moves can the Pistons make in this offseason that will encourage you moving forward for this season and then the future?
That's a loaded question. I mean, by loaded question, I mean that is a long question as far as like.
Well, I had to give you like what we have here.
No,
what's in our wallet.
I'm saying that could be a whole other like discussion.
Oh, I know.
I know we were able to grab Tony Snell, and I know we were able to grab theoretical wings in the draft. I definitely want more help on the wings, though. Still, I need.
Absolutely. I think we need to sign some type of wing with that MLE.
Also, would like to see us grab back a point guard.
That's another one.
Big.
Do not overspend on the backup point guard.
All that aside, I want to see us ship out someone big.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Whoa.
I want
Andrew dropping a bomb
because the reason why I want an actual sense of direction for this team. They built for the future with this draft. I want to continue to see them playing for the future instead of trying to make plays to win now while drafting for the future, which is a conundrum.
So you're saying Tom Gorse just sit down and shut up?
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Who's your pick?
I mean, I liked it. I think Reggie Jackson would be the most likely.
I think that's the most obvious one because of the contract.
I think.
But besides Reggie Jackson,
I think this is your best opportunity to move Blake if you want to move Blake.
I agree with you 100%.
One of his best seasons.
Honestly, there's been rumors floating around. I don't believe a damn word of it.
Nope.
I don't think he's going anywhere. Honestly, I'd
actually bet money on it that he's not going anywhere.
Right.
But.
No, to be 100p with you, I would actually be kind of sad if they moved him because, like, I've really enjoyed watching him play.
I would be sad, but I would not deny it's a smart move.
To get rid of the contract right before it gets absolutely abysmal, 100% agree. But I've been hearing some rumors about him. I've been hearing rumors here and there about Drummond. I've been hearing big rumors about Jackson. I've actually heard today that Langston Galloway will be traded before June 30th.
Okay.
So there is one guy that is an expiring deal. It's only like a $5 to $7 million deal.
If we're being honest, if this past week has given us any kind of sense of direction for this team, it's that
they're
building for not even like the next couple of years, to the far future.
Right, they're rebuilding.
Which will be way past Blake's window.
Oh, God, he's already, 32 years old, coming off of a knee injury as it is? I mean, come
money
on.
You're paying Blake right now is money that is useless and could be better spent trying to retool his team.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I think it was very ballsy to say that you want to see someone big get shipped out. I agree with you. If they were to do that, that would tell me that finally we have a sense of direction. We're going somewhere, and we have an idea and a destination set in our minds that we're going after. And it's a direction. This team has lacked direction for so long, and that would be a tell-all of a direction. And I would love to see it. I really would.
Like, I'm okay with not making
just
the playoffs
for the sake
if I know the team's going somewhere.
Even if it were to be the wrong decision in the long run, or it wasn't popular with the fans, because I know very well it probably wouldn't be with a lot of fans, especially on Twitter. It would finally be a definitive direction that the Pistons are taking, and I really want that to happen.
Yeah.
Now, moving on from that. Well, hold on. Are there any names in free agency that you would like? Just give me a couple of names that you would like to see the Pistons at least make a play for.
Off the top of my head, I mean, I got to think of what.
I mean, you've got the Seth Currys, the Derrick Roses, the Pat Bevs.
About the Seth. I mean, that's actually a really good one too. Is the fact that because
Pat Bev's going to be too expensive.
No, I'm talking about Seth Curry because of our need for backup point guard. It fulfills that, and it fulfills our need for shooting. So that is we can't sit here and throw out big names because we don't have the money to sign the big names.
Right.
So, I'm actually going to...
Seth Curry? Seth Curry's the guy? Do you think the Pistons have any chance of grabbing a Harrison Barnes-type player?
Well, he's already expressed interest in going back to Sacramento.
I know.
But
he wants a max deal. He said he declined his option because he knows they're going to pay him max money.
Oh, I did not hear that part.
Yes.
So definitely not.
No, I know. But I very highly doubt anybody's going to even give him 20 mil, let alone 25. I'd be shocked to see him get anywhere near what his contract was this past year. Yeah. I'd be shocked. That he's a good player, not that good. But and if he gets a max deal, hey, more power to him. But I'd be honestly really shocked to see it happen. But yeah, no, I'll agree that Seth Curry is a guy that I think could come fairly cheap. You can get him with probably part of that MLE. What about like a guy like Ricky Rubio? Mm-hmm. Do you think that's a guy you could go after?
I'd actually love a guy like Ricky Rubio.
I think you could get him cheap as well.
And he's a really smart backup point guard.
Absolutely.
And he has a lot of starting point guard experience. So I'd actually really like a guy like Ricky Rubio. And if you end up trading Reggie Jackson, I have no problem starting with
Absolutely not. I completely agree. So anyways, moving on from that, now we go back to your question of, did we like the drafts? Did we not like it? And I want us to each give a grade for Ed Stefanski and the Pistons front office for their draft this offseason. All right, so I'm going to let you start. Did you like it? Did you not?
Does it include all the events surrounding the draft?
Yes.
So the trade and the undrafted free agents too?
Yes.
Or just...
If you're going to include the undrafted free... Well, I mean, the Tony Snell move technically is part of the draft because it got him the draft pick.
Yeah.
If they didn't get the draft pick in there, I'd say no. But because we did, that's part of it.
Yeah. So I'm going to go B+.
B+. I'm pretty much on par with that.
Yeah.
I'm about a B+. I was very encouraged with what they're doing. It was confusing based on the direction.
A lot of risk. The reason it's not A is because you did nothing to mitigate the risk. But
right,
you went in on these.
My two reasons for not an A are that you did nothing to mitigate the risk because you went risk with every single one of your moves, and B, you're going against the direction that we've been told over the last couple of years. Yeah. So you're going against what we're being told of what the Pistons are doing here.
And 3, I did not like the moves they made in the second round. I thought they gave up a little too much to move up 8 spots in the second.
I can see an argument for that, but the impact on that's a lot lower, obviously.
Yeah, exactly, because the second round.
But I mean, the Sekou Doumbouya pick, I loved. I would have much
rather. I would have much rather seen them trade up, use those 4 picks they got, and that second rounder. Plus, we had that 30th pick. Like we had a bet, like either the 30th pick, or the 4 second rounders we got plus the second rounder. Do something and try to move up, and make a play for Darius Bazley. I got enamored with him leading up to the draft.
He went in the late first round, didn't he?
Yeah, he went. I want to say like 21, 22.
You're not moving up that far with second round picks, my friend. Sorry, there's no way.
You still had your 30. Remember?
But you're not moving up 9 spots when for a guy like that with second round picks and a 30th pick. That you're not going to be able to do that. But anyways. Not into that range. I mean, it's possible to do that to get into the
23 is where we went.
It's still a little bit too high to be able to move up with a combination of that pick and second round.
And he got traded to the Thunder, who moved up how many spots to grab him?
So let me ask you this. Now, to close it out, Andrew, I want you to tell me who you think is this year's steal of the draft.
Steal of the draft. I do, like I mentioned before, I do think Darius Bazley at 23 is going to turn out to be one hell of a player. Who else I think would be a steal? I mean, Sekou Doumbouya isn't being mentioned with the steals.
I agree with that. I don't think he'll be the steal of the draft.
I don't think you'll realize that for a while either way. But I'm gonna go either Darius Bazley or KZ Opala by the Suns in the second round.
So my steal of the draft, obviously, like you mentioned, Sekou Doumbouya is going to be in that conversation. My pick is going to be. I do like the KZ Opala in the second round, but I'm going to say I think Nasir Little at 25 is fantastic, unbelievable value. Yeah. It's not my steal of the draft, though.
Oh, okay.
My steal of the draft is actually at 21 that the Grizzlies got in a trade, Brandon Clark. I think this guy, if there's one guy to pick,
I wasn't sure why he dropped.
I don't know, because that was a guy I saw in the top 10 in late mocks. Yeah. And he's a guy who, coming into the league, is probably one of the 15 most athletic players in the game.
Yeah.
And if you want a guy who I truly believe, if I had to pick outside of the top 5, a guy that I think could be a future superstar or even just a future star. If I had to pick one guy, it's Brandon Clark. Because of the athleticism, because of his abilities, because of his skill set, it's Brandon Clark. So I thought I would have loved to see the Pistons take him at 15. I wanted him so badly. And they passed him to take Sekou Doumbouya, which I was fine with because I like the pick. But Brandon Clark is a guy that I think a lot of that 20 other teams are going to look at and say, "Damn, I wish we took that guy."
No, like I feel like something had to happen in the pre-draft process because I know in the Ringers final mock draft, which was like a couple days before the draft or one day before the draft, even
he was in the top 10.
No, they dropped him from 11 to 17 in their final.
Oh, really?
Mock draft.
Wow.
So I was like, that was the first part. Like, was setting up. Like,
I mean, but that is where he primarily was in most mocks.
I agree.
So like it could have just been he had a hype thing going and then it faltered. But I was surprised to see him go as far back as 21. I really was. I haven't heard anything about pre-draft issues or anything like that, but the skill set and the athleticism was so intriguing to me. I think there's going to be 19 teams, or 18 teams, not say 20, but 18 teams that are going to say, "Damn, I wish we would have taken this guy," because I do think Brandon Clark could be a future star if he ends up panning out.
Yeah.
I think he's got that ceiling. But anyways, that's going to call it. So guys, that was our draft talk. We thank you guys for listening. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Twitter. Hit us up at Real Fan Report is where you can find us. Let us know what your thoughts of the draft were. Let us know if you loved the pick, hated the pick, you wanted them to go a different route, who you wanted them to take at that spot. Throw us a second round guy you like. I don't know, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you guys for listening. Andrew, thank you for joining me. And thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast as well. Definitely give them a follow and check out some of the other shows out there. Watch our live show. Check it out Mondays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern at www.twitch.tv/thefanreport. But anyways, guys, that is going to call it for us this week. We thank you again. This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
We'll catch you guys next week. Enjoy it.
Peace out.